Just Baseball Show, Wednesday, May 4th. That's Aram Layden. I'm Peter Apple. I have been sick the past couple days. I haven't been on Not Gambling Advice. I haven't been on the Just Baseball Show, and I haven't been able to talk shop with my guy, Aram Layden. Today, we got a mailbag. We're answering questions from Instagram and our Twitter. On Twitter at JustBBMedia, on Instagram at Just Baseball Show. What's up, dude? It's nice to see you. It's May 4th.
It's good to see you with some color on your face. Yes. And hear your voice not sound just like, hi, what's up? Like, yeah, it was one of those 48-hour guys, right? You look good, you sound good.
48-hour bug. I think I ate something weird. I've just been in pain in my stomach, and even my picks have suffered as a result. We were on an absolute heater, went 2-2 on the day that I was really sick, 1-2 on the day that I was pretty sick. And now I wasn't sick as we're talking on Tuesday. This is going to be released Wednesday. I'm feeling good, so hopefully the picks go that way as well. But we have a mailbag today, but it is also that weird day in the calendar where May the 4th, Star Wars. When you grow up, were you a Star Wars guy?
No, not at all.
Really? I was a huge Star Wars guy. Were you anything science fiction at all? Because it was always Star Wars and Marvel for me. Those have been my, all right, now that I turn off the game, if I've one thing that I'm going to watch that has nothing to do with sports, it was always that.
I loved Batman. Loved Batman. I probably saw like all of the anything. And Scooby-Doo was like my number one. I know that's off like kilter. I loved whenever I was sick, all day Scooby-Doo. All day, like that was my favorite.
What about Scooby-Doo?
I love dogs. I don't know. It's funny. I didn't even think about that till recently. I was like, I used to love Scooby-Doo. I still have stuffed animals and stuff like that, like in my closet, stowed away of Scooby-Doo. But for whatever reason, science fiction, I don't know why. I know you were never a Pokemon guy. I never got into Pokemon. I used to like Star Wars, never got too into it. But yeah, Scooby-Doo.
We just got into baseball and sports so early. And I know for the same thing for you, Jack always makes fun of me about this, but we're just not huge pop culture guys because we never got the opportunity to do so because we just weren't that interested in it. That's why we host a podcast and we're about to answer a bunch of questions about baseball because that's what we love to talk about.
Yeah, even like my nerdy, like niche collecting, it was
baseball cards.
vintage baseball cards. Like for my 12th birthday, it was my dad giving me like a Tris speaker card. It's like everyone's like, "What's wrong with your son? That's what he wants for his birthday."
And the only collection that I made, I mean, obviously I had my baseball cards, but another collection, I guess, that I collected pennants. Like I have a bunch of pennants back in my house back in California, but that's really all that I kind of did. It was just all baseball, and that's why we are pretty one-sided, but this is the side that we're pretty good at, and that's talking baseball. So again, these questions were asked on our Twitter and on our Instagram, and you can see all the questions in the episode link description with the tags. So question number one, Aram, what are your favorite examples of random MLB players who own a certain franchise? Asked by @RealEli on Twitter. This is a good one because I wrote an article on justbaseball.com called Who's Your Daddy? And
probably one of the first articles like ever.
One of the first articles. I always find it so interesting. Which player crushes another player, which team dominates a player, which player dominates that team, and it's just out of nowhere. And I think this got sparked, of course, because of the Just Baseball cheat game, aka Eric Fetty against the Marlins. He's had this unbelievable under 2 ERA type career against the Miami Marlins, while in reality his ERA is closer to a 6, but against the Marlins he's Cy Young. Who's another example of a guy who you thought you just couldn't imagine that he actually dominated this team?
So I want to first give a nod to our advisor, Jeff Conine, who made, and I know a lot of people hit well in Coors. What Jeff Conine did to Coors was criminal, but he also did it at home against the Rockies too. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Jeff. He hit, and this was in 66 starts, so 74 appearances against the Rockies, 295 plate appearances. Jeff slashed 376, 448, 684 against the Rockies with 16 homers and 63 driven in 66 starts. He's averaging like an RBI a game against the Rockies. Like that is nasty, absolutely nasty. So I had to give a shout out to Jeff on that one.
And do you have any other ones, or is that your main one?
No. So my modern current player one, Jeff's going to be so mad that I didn't call him a modern player. The current player is Kyle Schwarber. Dude, Kyle Schwarber absolutely owns the Mets. 9 home runs in 10 games against the Mets last year. Remember that streak that he was on? That was all against the Mets. And then you and I were just at the game where, unfortunately, the Phillies got no hit. But later in the series, Schwarber ends up hitting a home run against them, starts to get it going again. And I was thinking, what has he done against the Mets? 320, 409, 746 slash line, 16 homers in 33 games for Kyle Schwarber, 16 homers in 122 at-bats. That's insanity. He owns the Mets.
He owns the Mets. And I encourage you guys, because I wrote the article, and it's one player on every team and who they dominate and vice versa. So it has all listed out. So if you're worried that your favorite team isn't on here, I guarantee you it's in the article. So I chose a different that's not in that article because I just love doing this. Adam Wainwright has a 10-15 record with a 5.29 ERA in his career against the Reds. I don't know why. He could be a Hall of Fame pitcher one day. Probably won't be, but it will be in that level of conversation. He has a career ERA around 3, but against the Cincinnati Reds of all team, 5.29 ERA. On the other side, Aroldis Chapman has given up 1 run since 2016 against the Orioles in over 31 innings pitched. And then my last one, this is a current one that's still progressing, and he pitches on Tuesday. So you'll be hearing this episode on Wednesday. So you'll see if this trend is still continuing, but Alek Manoah against the Yankees, Alek Manoah has dominated them. Through first 19 and a third innings, he's given up 3 earned runs to give him a 1.42 ERA against them in his first start ever in the big leagues. Normally, a rookie pitcher might struggle in their first, outing in the major leagues. But Alek Manoah threw 6 innings, 2 hits, 7 Ks against the New York Yankees. We were talking pre-record. You had a great point about his intensity that he's going to bring to every Yankee start.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it when you're a player that's the types of players I think that have like that fire in them. You pitch against the Yankees, it brings it out a little bit. I don't care what people say. You see the pinstripe 60 feet, 6 inches from you, you level up, especially if you're pitching in Yankee Stadium. And then you brought up a good point that, I mean, what's Manoah's best pitch? A slider. What do many of these Yankees power hitters flail at? The slider, like you pointed out. If I had to pick the worst matchup for Stanton, I don't know what his numbers are against Manoah. I'd assume they're bad. But Manoah is a fiery dude. There's already a little bit of that back and forth that we've seen between the two teams. I love watching Manoah pitch against the Yankees because you see him get even more intense. I know you hate it, but like from a baseball fun fan standpoint, it's sweet.
Absolutely. It's sweet. It's awesome. I would never, of course, my Yankee fandom can get in the way. And we're like, well, I don't want Alek Manoah to pitch well, but for the
you can appreciate
game of baseball, it's awesome. And I love when they face each other. Number 2. This is an interesting one because I think you can take it a couple of different ways. Are they surprising you by how good they are? Are they surprising you by how terrible they are? So the question is, who's a player that surprised you guys the most so far through the first month of the season? Asked by Sy.ingersoll on Instagram. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I'll go first. So I took a sneak peek at yours and I honestly didn't even realize how bad he was doing. So I'm excited for you to get into that.
Right.
I'll go quick on a positive. I gotta shout out Eric Hosmer, pride of Broward County, down where I grew up. He's a legend, just because he was such a good high school player, obviously a great big league player, but has been a disaster over the last few years. The narrative was, what are we going to do with Hosmer? There was talk that the Padres were literally going to pay the Mets to take him. They ultimately decided to hold on to him. And Hosmer has not only been great, he's been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball so far. I know it's only 21 games. Who knows how it's going to go? But I mean, he has been unbelievable. 382, 447, 579 slash line, Peter. It's a 200 WRC plus. I mean, I don't expect it to continue the entire year, but I'm floored at how good. I mean, he hasn't had a stretch this good probably since Kansas City, I would venture to say.
Maybe all the noise that we were talking shit about him got to his head. Maybe he's out to some
everybody
art that we can't really quantify right now because it's just like, it's Eric Hosmer. He's hitting right now, but will this continue? My thing was with Eric Hosmer, do you think it's going to continue? I don't know how to word that better. I mean, do you think it's going to continue?
No. Well, first of all, like no to a degree, no. Like because you look, his ground ball rate actually went up. So he's not getting the ball in the air. What I will say though is he's hitting the ball hard. Like when he's squaring it up, he's hitting it hard. So
is it like 700? Is his BABIP like 700?
That is a good question, actually. Let me see. 426.
But it makes sense.
I will say this. I think it continues in the respect that he will be a serviceable player. Like I think he's going to be better than he was last year. But 2020, he was a 128 WRC plus guy. So like, I think he can still be something close to that, something decent. I don't think he's going to be the best hitter in Major League Baseball. So I think he'll taper off, but I do think he's made some marginal improvements. And I mean, that's good news for the Padres.
It is good news for the Padres,
especially overall, with Voit out.
Yeah, exactly. Eric Hosmer not only looks serviceable, but he looks pretty good. And I don't think he's going to hit 350, 400 for the year, but I could see him putting up a respectable year and really having a bounce back type year in that sense. My biggest surprise is how bad Marcus Semien has been for the Rangers. I mean, one of the worst overall hitters in baseball, and that's not hyperbole. One of the worst hitters in baseball. When you look at WRC plus, he's in the bottom 10 in baseball. This guy finished top 3 in MVP voting last year. He hit over 40 home runs, the most by a second baseman in MLB history. And now he has 0 home runs through 98 plate appearances so far, slashing 149, 224, 207 slugging. And Aram, this isn't right now a case of, oh, he's hitting the ball hard, just, getting unlucky. He's putting the ball in the air and things will work itself out for him. You see the Savant page. I bet you got it pulled up right now. And you're seeing icicles, not just blue, icicles, 5th percentile
single
or
digits.
Lower, single digits and all this stuff. And he's not even playing a good defensive position at second base either. This guy is 31 years old. He's not a 27-year-old who's off to a rough start. He's a 31-year-old. I'm not willing to press the panic button. I'm not. But there hasn't been anything so far that tells me, oh, he's going to be totally fine. The expected stats, anything. I test watching the Rangers. He's having bad at-bats. Everything's on the ground. No power. Still fast. And he's not playing a good defensive shortstop. This could be worrisome. I just don't. It's hard because I'm trying to evaluate him better, but I don't really have anything to work off right now. Do you?
It's just been bad. It's just, he's just not hitting the ball hard. Honestly, like it to me, it looks like he's almost playing through something, right? Like he's hurt. I just don't know. Because
what it is. That's what it feels like to me, because it's not, he just doesn't look the same.
He just doesn't look right. So, I mean, it's weird. He's 31. Like you said, it's not like it's his 36th birthday and he's tapering off. He's coming off of a phenomenal year and a year before that where he was great as well. I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to slam the panic button. He's still running well in 90th percentile in sprint speed. Again, like he's not chasing and whiffing an egregious amount, which I almost wish he was, because then you just say, okay, he's just a little bit over aggressive, new contract, trying to do too much, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the case. His whiff rates and chase rates are pretty normal. It's just not impacting the baseball at all. That's the concern.
That's just the concern. And I'm sorry if that's not good enough analysis. If you're listening, I don't know what to tell you. He's just not hitting the ball. I don't know if it's injury. We haven't heard anything. We're just worried.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien. Watch. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some breakout guys. Question number 3. Whose 2022 breakout do you buy the most between Kyle Wright, Jesus Luzardo, or Eric Lauer? Asked by teddy.neckowicz on Instagram. Aram, Kyle Wright, Jesus Luzardo, or Eric Lauer?
D.
Seriously.
All the above.
There's no wrong answer there.
So I'll try to answer this one, but it's funny to me because there's almost like a different answer within it all. Like Luzardo to me has the highest ceiling of the trio, right? Like just in terms of, there's only one guy on this list that is a lefty who throws 99 with a curveball that has the best whiff rate or top 3 whiff rate in the league. But Lauer has looked absolutely unbelievable and has seen his velo tick up a mile per hour and a half. And Kyle Wright, I just wrote a whole thing, as we've talked about on here, about how sold I am on his adjustments thus far. I would lean. That's tough. Like that. I think they're all going to sustain a level of their performance. So I want to preface with that. I lean either Lauer or Luzardo just off of the fact that, I mean, these guys get the whiffs in bunches right now. They get the whiffs. Like when we're talking about top of the line, I just don't know if Lauer is going to be able to sustain 40 plus whiff rate on a fastball like he has this year. I don't know if that's going to continue. Luzardo, I hope that he can continue with the command. That's my only concern, but the curveball has been phenomenal. And Wright, he has been able to maximize and be pinpoint, but again, another guy that I wonder about the command. I'm going to go. I think the safest pick is Lauer. Because I don't think he'll bottom out, but I think Luzardo has a chance to be the best of the bunch. But I'm buying all of them. If that, I know that's a cop out, but I'm buying all of them.
No, that's not a cop out because, I mean, what are we going to say, that we don't buy a breakout that we don't believe in? I mean, we believe in all of these guys. And we've talked so much about Jesus Luzardo. We had him on the Just Baseball show, and you wrote an article about Kyle Wright. We've been all over Kyle Wright. So I want to take this time to just talk about Eric Lauer for a second, because Eric Lauer has made tangible adjustments now that he's 26 years old. Remember, this was a first round pick. Eric Lauer and Luis Arraez were traded for Trent Grisham. Now what kind of trade is that? Because at first it was saying, oh yeah, the Padres crushed that. They got Trent Grisham. He looks like this all-star type level outfielder. Luis Arraez, you might rather have him than Trent Grisham, and Eric Lauer is the prize. Not only, Aram, is Eric Lauer throwing a full mile an hour harder, but the great thing is he's using his fastball different. You can see that the usage is down. That slider that did so well for him last year, he's now using it 21% of the time, up from 12% last year. So he took his best off-speed pitch. He's throwing it more, and it's elite. The fastball, he's throwing a little bit less, and it's coming in harder. And then all the other off-speed pitches are working well off it. Think about it. If I told you just a blind resume, because Eric Lauer, in all actuality, looks like a really boring guy. Kind of looks like a Go-Gurt, if you think about it. I mean, just like a little white guy, the fourth pitcher in Milwaukee. He's not the sexiest name. Like Eric Lauer is not very sexy when you hear that either. Just a guy named Eric. I mean, I don't know. But when I just give you the resume, if I told you I have a first round guy who's 26 years old, throwing 94 to 95, nobody can hit his best off-speed pitch. And then his other best off-speed pitch is pretty good. The command is ticking up. Maybe he's not going to get this 44% whiff rate on the fastball all year. And maybe he's not going to have a 1.93 ERA. But the reality of the fact is that since 2020, Eric Lauer has a better ERA than Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole, Robbie Ray, Clayton Kershaw, so many high marquee names. It is only in 132 innings. That's the thing. It hasn't been a ton of innings yet. But from those innings, I really believe it. And it's not a trio in Milwaukee. It's what's a name for a four? It's
quadruple.
Yeah, that's not the right word. It's a quadrant.
Five would be quintuple.
Yeah,
but I know it's four guys that are good.
It's a square. I don't know.
It's four dudes that are good. Yeah, but also the slider. A little bit of like building on that. I love that I love seeing him use that pitch more, obviously, because that's been a really good offering for him. Kind of phasing out the cutter a little bit as well, and the slider has more sweep now, so he has a little bit more going on with that. And then using all of the secondaries too. So when your fastball ticks up and then you have a slider that's improved, and then you can mix in a curveball and the occasional changeup, like you got to be really amped about what you're seeing from Eric Lauer. And it's not like he's doing this in some organization that has no ability to develop pitching, right? Like this is an organization that continues to squeeze the most out of their pitchers. And I think Lauer's the latest addition. And like you said, he's 26. This isn't a guy that's 32, that's having a little flash in the pan. This is a guy that may have actually figured it out. Same thing with Kyle Wright. He's about 26. Same thing with Luzardo. He's 25 or might still be 24. So it's like you have these young guys that still are in an opportunity to make these tweaks, have first round pedigree. By the way, I know Luzardo wasn't a first round pick, but he got first round bonus money out of high school. Like these are all first round guys, quote unquote, and they have the talent. Now they're squeezing it out. I'm sold on all of them. And I don't even think it's a cop out. I think it's the best answer we can give, because it's like, that's good news.
What
That's good news. Yeah.
Like, if we could poke hole, I mean, we just believe in all these guys. I believe in Luzardo. I believe in Kyle Wright. And the only reason we decided to focus on Eric Lauer in this episode is because we've talked so much about how
the
much
other
we
guys.
believe in Jesus Luzardo. And then you even wrote an article about Kyle Wright. And we've spent multiple episodes so far talking about Kyle Wright. So we'll move on to the fourth question. And this one was recently asked. It was a new addition. And it's because Miguel Sano just hit the IL, tearing his meniscus. No timetable for return. So this new question is pretty pertinent. The Twins right now have a logjam at first base. I want to know what you think they should do. Sano is on the IL. They have Arraez playing first base. Miranda can play first base. And Kiriloff, who is in AAA, is really a first baseman. Asked by Wade Wald 08 on IG. I'm going to throw that over to you because not only are you the mega 2022 Twins truther, but you're also the person who found Jose Miranda when he was 5 years old.
I love that. No, I appreciate the toss over because I was unfortunate to see Sano go down like that, especially in a celebration. That's not the way I want to see Jose Miranda get called up, but I'm amped to see Jose Miranda get called up. And I think he's going to be an upgrade for them. I really do. But I have a question for you, Peter, because I'm looking at it this way. Arraez is just, he's a bat to ball machine. You want to have that guy in your lineup because they have so much power otherwise. Is Gio Urshela really a guy that needs to be in the lineup every single day at third base? I don't think so.
I told you after the season, do you remember when we did like that Yankees recap and I was just getting so pissed off about the Yankees losing the wild card? And I went off about Gio Urshela. And it's not that I think Gio Urshela is a bad player. I just don't think he is a starting caliber third baseman on a playoff team. I really don't.
Position's too good.
First of all, position's too good. He is an overrated defender in my eyes. I think he's a good defender. Mm-hmm. I think he could possibly be a great defender, but he's not an all-world defender. So it's not, you have to have an all-world type glove to make sense for the bat to be in that premium type of position. And it's not. He caught flash in a pan with the Yankees, with the Guardians and the Blue Jays. Like, he was never really a hitter, caught flash with the Yankees, then teetered off. And then ever since he's teetered off, he's not been that great of a bat. I don't think he should be playing third for a team that should be in playoff contention.
No, I agree. So that's why I wanted to lead with that, because I think he should still have a good role with the team. He can play a good third. He can fill in here and there. He can play all over. But I think Miranda should be getting some starts at third. He should be getting some starts at first. And I think you should use some of that defensive versatility that Arraez and Miranda have. Both are not good defenders, but at least they're capable of playing multiple positions. So kind of move them around, disguise them in different positions. I would prefer Miranda at first, but right now, if you want to keep Arraez in the lineup, you're probably gonna have to put Miranda at third and Arraez at first, which, you know, that could hurt the defense a little bit. But I'm okay with that when you have Buxton in center, Correa at short, who, you know, that's an all-world defender right there.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's all
right. And Kepler and the rest of the defense is fine enough. That's how I feel about it. Because personally, I don't know if Urshela should really be in the lineup every single day. And the way Arraez is hitting, you probably got to stick him in there. So I want to get Miranda the ABs though, because dude, he is good. He can hit for average. He can hit for power. He is a really, really exciting offensive piece that I think can give you more production than Sano's been giving you.
I think that's the main point of this. We want Jose Miranda and Alex Kiriloff getting way more at bats than Miguel Sano and Gio Urshela.
Yep.
However you want to slice that, we are not the manager of the Twins. We're not the GM of the Twins. What we know is we want to see more Jose Miranda and more Alex Kiriloff and way less Miguel Sano and just a little bit less of Gio Urshela, but way less Miguel Sano. Miguel Sano, I don't mean to pile on. I know you got injured. I'm sorry, brother. Hope you come back well, but there's the reality of the situation. You are a two true outcome guy and you're not walking.
Yeah, he's two true outcomes. That's really exciting. But yeah, I think Miranda will help them big time. So I'm excited to see how they get him some consistent ABs.
Question number 5. Do you think the Phillies will figure it out and make a push for the division? Asked by @Bryce_Palm95 on Twitter. Aram, here, let me just do this for you. I'm just going to give you where the Phillies right now rank in terms of in a bunch of different stats and then you could take it from there. Hitting, we know about the offense. They're 8th in average, they're 10th in OBP, 4th in OPS, they're 6th in home runs. Starting pitching, we knew it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. 21st in ERA, 16th in WHIP, 17th in K per 9. Relief pitchers, they're 23rd in ERA, they're 24th in WHIP, and they're 26th in hits per 9. Isn't that kind of exactly what we thought was going to happen? That the offense was going to be great. We know they're going to bang. And I really think that this could be a top 5 offense when it's all said and done.
Oh,
starting pitching, inconsistent. And we saw firsthand when Aaron Nola was pitching for the Phillies. No wonder the xFIP is so high. The Phillies cannot play defense here, people. And then the relief options in the bullpen, they're not very good. So, Aram, when I think about the Phillies, I'm still on this same feeling of I wouldn't want to take their over on wins because this team is too polarizing. But then also I know that they could make moves at the deadline, but we've said it before, they're right up against the tax threshold. Do they want to pay it? We'll see. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they do, but I think that they do. So what do we do with the Phillies? I think they're going to finish 3rd, and I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. That's where I'm at right now.
I mean, dude, with the way the Marlins pitching is looked too, I'm not saying they're going to finish ahead of the Phillies, but they're definitely not going to roll over and give the Phillies automatic wins like the Nationals.
It's going to be 2 or 3 games difference, I think.
And so now you're dealing with the Mets, the Braves, and the Marlins, who are, going to definitely be difficult on a lot of your games. We saw how bad the defense was firsthand. It was rough to watch that team out there. And then I went again on Sunday, and I'm watching Schwarber like unable to cut balls off in the gap. Like those are little things that in the grand scheme of a 162 game season will continue to cost you wins and continue to cost you wins and continue to cost you wins. And that's what I'm worried about. Like you mentioned it, they could make moves. Their system has gone from one of the worst to improving slightly in terms of trade pieces. Cause their last 2 first round picks, Mick Abel and Andy Painter, have been phenomenal and probably are, well inside top 100 guys by the time we do the midseason update. Stott's still a good piece. Bohm is swinging it. Like you mentioned, the offense, I think right now is even underperforming. I think it could be better. I think it will
literally
be better.
By the numbers too, by all the expected numbers, all that.
They'll be better.
They've been underperforming and they've been doing well. They are a great offense. No doubt.
You can't win that way, man. Like you've seen some Yankee teams that were all offense.
That's what I've been saying.
Honestly kind of built pretty similar, right? How many Yankees teams did we see with questionable pitching, amazing offense, and questionable defense?
Just think about this, Phillies fans, from a Yankee guy to a Philly guy. Like, I don't have anything against you. Think about this. I have been so upset at the way the Yankees have formulated these teams, and all of these teams have done nothing. Yes, we've made the playoffs, but we lose in the wild card game. We lose in the divisional series. And you know why? Because it's all based around big bats that once they get going, it's unstoppable to stop them. But once they aren't, they're inept. The starting pitching can be inconsistent. The Yankees defense was never that good to help shoulder the load. And the Yankees always had a better bullpen than the Phillies have always had. So right now, you are just approaching what those Yankee teams have done that never could actually get over the hump, and you're not even there yet. That's how I feel about the Phillies. I'm just watching a little bit worse of Yankees teams that already failed.
And beyond, like, to build off of that, it's baseball, bro. Like, as you know, there's no matter how loaded your offense is, there's going to be days where the offense doesn't show up. There's going to be days where the Dodgers offense doesn't show up, right? We watch the Phillies just get no hits.
Yes, but if the offense doesn't show up, then they almost have no chance of winning.
They're toast. No chance. No chance.
That's the thing.
So, and again,
that doesn't win in the playoffs.
And that's in a division, again, where the Marlins, I think, are going to be a pest for them because the Marlins are going to keep the score low for the most part. Like, they pitch well. It's part of the reason why I think the Marlins have handled the Phillies over the last year. That's why I think the Braves, when their pitching is going right, they could be a problem for them. I just don't love, and the Mets, don't get me started. I mean, the Mets can carve them up. They just no hit them. They can continue to do that. So no matter who you have on your offense, good pitching always beats good hitting. And I mean, it's just not sustainable that way, I don't think.
And there might be people in the comments who say, well, there have been teams historically that have been able to hit their way through championships, maybe with a bad defense, maybe because the starting pitching is like each individual player I do kind of like. Like, I love Zach Wheeler. Aaron Nola, we still think Aaron Nola is a good pitcher. Ranger Suarez is a good pitcher. Kyle Gibson is decent. And Zach Eflin his numbers are actually great. Like his advanced stuff is great. I mean, eye test, you look at Zach Eflin, you're like, he's pretty good. So I'll side with pretty good. He's pretty good. So they have a deeper rotation, but then like each individual guy also has his issues.
Is Ranger Suarez giving you 7 shutout?
Right? No, like not the playoffs. Like Ranger Suarez stinks against the Dodgers in the playoffs. Actually, Dodgers don't hit lefties that well. Bad example. Still, what do you think's going to happen, Philly? Let's be honest with each other right now.
Yeah, you get Wheeler game 1. Okay, yeah, but whoever he's pitching against is going to be just as good. Game 2, Noah's fine. Like he's a good 2, but I promise whoever else you're playing in the playoffs will have a better number 2.
Think about this. Let's just go through it. Nola versus Logan Webb or Carlos Rodon. Nola versus Brandon Woodruff. Nola versus Max Scherzer. Like these, you're not winning these games unless by some freakazoid happens that it's not freakish that the offense is rolling at the time, but that's the only way it's going to happen. The offense has to be the best in baseball and rolling come playoff time.
And it's just going to take too many things timed up at the right time. What I will say though is the Phillies are going to go on their hot streak where their offense is clicking,
and everyone's going to be like, taken out of context, being like they hate the Phillies, and they're going to go on a 13-game win streak. We said that at the beginning of the year. They're going to have these stretches where it's like, wow, are the Phillies the best team in baseball?
I can't wait. It's fun.
It's great. Fun. It's going to be fun to bet on them too because they're going to go to roll. They're going to score 7 runs every game.
Harper and Schwarber, they're going to get hot at the same time. Like it's so predictable. It's so predictable, but they're not built for the playoffs. They're not built for 162.
Now that we're saying it's so predictable, now you know what, they're probably going to go undefeated for the rest of the year. Their pitching is going to be great. Their hitting is going to be terrible, and they're going to make the playoffs.
and Didi Gregorius is winning a Gold Glove at short.
And so is Alec Boehm at third base. All right, let's move on to question number 6. This is a great one. What are some good starter packs to buy on Loop? Was on there for an hour last night and didn't know what to buy. That was asked by Bernstein Darian on Twitter. Our good friends at Loop, which you can find in the episode link description. We're buying trading cards nonstop. I freaking love it on Loop right now. All we're doing is trading. I was actually talking with some of my boys back home. We were on the phone just talking about, all right, which packs are we going to buy? Which packs are we going to buy? Because it's so constant and it's just fun all day long. So I'll throw that over to you because you really are the card guy.
Yeah. So today, as you're listening to this, finally Bowman Baseball is out. I'd say 90% of sellers will have the Bowman Baseball. So on that, you can be hunting, Khalil Watson, George Valera, Jackenzie Noel, Matt McClain. Like there's so many players that you can be hunting in that is super fun in that checklist. And then also I'm a big fan of Topps Chrome because it's cheaper as well. So whenever I don't feel like blowing a ton of money on Bowman, although you can go packs, which that's the great part is you can just buy individual packs on Loop. But 2021 Topps Chrome is one of my favorite because they have a really good list of rookies from last year. 2022 Chrome will be coming out soon as well. But if you're kind of browsing around and you're looking for something to open on the Loop app, I know it can kind of be intimidating. Like, what should I buy? All these sellers have so much product. You can never go wrong with Bowman ever, especially if you're into prospects. You'll really like that. But Topps Chrome is probably one of the most underrated, and I'm a huge fan of that. So no matter the year, but 2021 Topps Chrome is awesome. And it's pretty cheap to rip. If you want to go super, super cheap, there's 2021 Topps Baseball that I know a ton of people have. And then those are both awesome. 2022 Topps Baseball is out now too. So that's where you can get the Wander Franco rookies potentially. And that's what everybody's hunting in 2022. So can't go wrong with any of those, but Topps Chrome and or Bowman Baseball or Bowman Draft, you're in business and you'll have a lot of fun ripping it. I've had a blast doing it.
I would like to say, what are my bold takes? Wander Franco wins the American League MVP. Now,
hey, he's looking good.
The crazy thing about Wander Franco, and the other reason I wanted to bring him up is not only I want his card more than anything, but he's not walking at all and he's doing everything else better. And that's his forte. Is his great plate discipline and how he's able to take walks like that. He's going to start taking pitches and it's over. He's going to hit 340 this year.
And it's unbelievable. And he just keeps getting better and better. And by the way, one last note on Wander. Somebody pulled out of a Walmart pack. So to show you that you never know what you can rip and open and pull on Loop, Wander's 1-of-1 rookie card in a Walmart pack, a $2 pack of cards. They pulled Wander's 1-of-1.
How much is that worth right now?
No idea. No idea. It's going to go to auction.
Give me, I mean, you got to tease me. What do you think? What could it be?
It's his Topps rookie. So it won't be as much as the Bowman, which went for like 200. It's probably going to be 60, 70, 80,000.
Can you imagine?
Out of a $2 pack.
Just chilling, eating dinner, playing on the Loop app, pulling $80K thing for paying $2. Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that app right afterward.
I pulled some Riley Green base cards. Yesterday, and I'm like thrilled about that on the Loop app.
Riley Green, no one's talking about him right now. He's still coming back from that injury, and then he's gonna come and he's gonna be one of the best rookies in baseball. So let's keep going. We have 3 questions left. Number 7, which playoff hopeful pitching staff are you most concerned about? Asked by @BigNate2144 on Instagram. So Aram, I have 2 different ones. You might have taken one of them, just you agreed with me, or you just thought that it was a good idea. So who's your first? Because I'll then break into my 2, unless you take one.
So
playoff teams.
I know that there's only so many.
There's only so many.
So I'll say, man, I know what you've got, and I'm excited to get into that with you. But I mean, the Cardinals going into this year was one that I was always concerned about. So that's kind of a cop out. They need to do something. I literally wrote an article about that.
Miles Michaelis is like good though. But
yeah, he looks good though. Yeah, he looks good. Another Broward County boy. But dude, I'm looking at there's a few different angles I could take of this, because the White Sox, I know you have, and I'm excited to hear you talk about that because they concern the heck out of me.
No, I have another team. Take the White
Braves.
Sox. I mean,
the Braves. I want to talk Braves.
Yeah,
because I just watched Charlie Morton before we recorded.
Yeah,
I'm getting a little worried about Charlie Morton. Because at first I'm like, okay, he broke his leg. He's literally getting his feet back under him. But also at the same time, man, like Charlie Morton's also getting up there. And if this isn't the year where he slows down, then it's probably going to be next year. So looking at 38-year-old Charlie Morton really struggle is a little bit concerning, because we don't know what Mike Soroka is going to look like when he comes back and when he's going to come back. We don't know if Huascar Ynoa is going to really be able to be anything similar to what he was last year. He got demoted. You look at Ian Anderson. I'm not as worried about him. I think he's going to get going, but that's a little bit concerning. Kyle Wright has been a revelation, and that is huge. If Kyle Wright wasn't doing what Kyle Wright was doing, I'd be slamming the panic button on the pitching situation right now. We were hoping friend of the podcast, Tucker Davidson, would be, shouldering a bit more of a load. They've only gone to him for 2 2/3. So it's a little bit suspicious, concerning right there. I will say Bryce Elder has looked good in limited looks. I've liked what we've seen from Bryce Elder, and I know that was a question. I actually really do like what I've seen from Bryce Elder, but I'm getting cautiously a little bit concerned about this Braves pitching staff, because outside of Max Fried and the emergent Kyle Wright, do you really trust the rest of this rotation right now, Peter?
I've said it before that I am worried that Ian Anderson is not going to take this ultimate leap up to being a 2. I still will always believe in Max Fried because I think he's a freaking stud. I am slightly worried about Charlie Morton. And if Huascar Ynoa is not what we thought at all, can they get by with a combination of kind of Max Fried and Kyle Wright at this point, and Ian Anderson, of course? So at the top end, they can still win, but I understand for the depth that what the Braves kind of were built on, right, is this depth, all those outfielders last year, the big bullpen, that we thought they just had dudes coming up the pipe. Even they got rid of Freddie Freeman and got back Matt Olson. That wasn't a depth piece, but they can replace like that. They got Ronald Acuna Jr. back. But now you really see it's not as deep as we thought.
And talking about the defending champs.
Yeah, the defending champs. And another team that's not as deep as we thought, at least I don't think so. And this is not because I'm concerned about the White Sox. Like, I don't think we even need to spend much time, though, because I think that's clearly obvious.
Yeah,
right?
They're like
it's amazing, but then they're throwing out Keuchel and Vince Velasquez. I mean, what is this? The 2021 Padres where they're just throwing out Jake Arrieta? It's April. It's not August where all the arms are done. It's April. I know Lance Lynn is going to come back. So, but it's clear that the White Sox are a team where you need to be beep, 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 pitching. Yeah. They need it now. But the team that's kind of on the, I guess, outside, because I shouldn't be that worried about them, but I am. Like I just am. And maybe the numbers wouldn't point towards it because as a rotation, their ERA is fine. But dude, like come playoff time, is a combination of McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Corey Kluber, Josh Fleming, this guy,
Shane Boz.
Baza sucks. Yeah, Boz is going to come back, but then again, he's a rookie. How many innings is he going to throw? Patino is another guy, not a rookie, but young guy whose innings are going to be capped a little bit. I know that they're going to get Boz back, and McClanahan is awesome. And Rasmussen has even proved that he's pretty good. I don't feel like this Rays pitching unit has the same, heat as it normally does, where every single dude is throwing 100. And you never heard of these guys. Like I watch them, I'm like, they're pretty good. I guess the main point of it is, as a Yankee fan, the Rays scare me every single game we face them. When I'm watching them face the Yankees versus not, I'm not as scared. I guess that's my main point of this, is I'm not as afraid of the Rays pitching as in prior years.
So I look at the Rays and like on the surface, I could see that. I could see the concern, especially with the rotation, but I'm a firm believer in Rasmussen now. I really am.
Yeah.
And that bullpen right now for the Rays has been freaking insane.
Yeah.
Insane. They're the number one bullpen in F4 right now. I believe they're number 1 or 2, maybe only behind the Giants and the Dodgers.
But they accumulate so much WAR because of the starters, and it's always relievers in there, bro. Like it's just always relievers,
and they do it. Like they do it. And, the third in ERA, they're second in FIP.
Yeah, that's
so they don't need the starters to do too much. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, you just need Rasmussen to go 5. You just need Boz to go 5, and then McClanahan looks like Colby Olson just put out an awesome article on McClanahan, how he's a certified ace. I do think that there's a level of concern, across the whole season, right? Like, how are they going to keep up with the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and how are they going to do that when those teams have pretty much a guy that can go deep every 5th day? And I feel like every 4th day with the Rays, we're like, how are they piecing together 9 innings today? But they always piece it together. That's the thing. So it's tough. I understand the concern, but I also am like, their bullpen's dominating still at the same level, and the rotation is solid. But I do see a little bit more vulnerability than in previous years, and they, an injury or two, and things could get ugly.
The way I thought about it was when they said playoff rotations, right? So I was thinking about playoff teams, then I was thinking about in the playoffs, and my first thought was, if Shane McClanahan goes down, are they not kind of screwed?
No, that's a big one.
And game 2, Drew Rasmussen versus,
it's kind of back to the Nola point.
Yeah, I'm not.
But again, you only need 4.
They're still producing well. Like in April, I'm not saying that this is a bad rotation, and it's not to the White Sox standard or the Braves. I just looked at the roster from the eye test, from trying to understand where they'll be at in the playoffs, thinking to myself, I'm not as scared about the Rays as previous years. That's how I felt. Is that
they love that. They want me
to be afraid. And you know what? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Rays, not afraid anymore, you dicks.
You're gonna regret that one.
I know they beat the shit out of me with Jeffrey Springs, and I'm like, who the fuck is Jeffrey Springs? But he's got a 145 expected batting average against, and he shoves.
I'm gonna believe. I'm believing. I think they can hold it up, but I think the biggest thing is, can McClanahan shoulder a full season load? And then how does Boz look when he comes back? If those two things go the right way,
I could be eating my words in a couple of weeks. Exactly. Let's move to number 8. And this is a draft question, taking you back a little bit to prospects, not even minor league prospects. How about college and high school baseball? Who is your favorite pitcher in this year's draft? Asked by at DCTORPY, Dr. P. Right. Whatever. 16 on Twitter. Who's your favorite pitcher in this year's draft? Because I have mine. He's a high school guy. I don't know if you have a different college guy or maybe a different high school guy.
Well, unfortunate that Lesko went down, because I think, far and away the most talented arm. Dylan Lesko is far and away the most talented arm, I think, out of the whole draft class. He's still going to go extremely early.
Yeah.
I even talked to my former coach in high school, who coaches a summer team now in South Florida, and they faced Lesko, and he said he's as talented of a high school arm as he's seen.
Wow.
But like he is incredible, and I'm very interested to see where he goes. I'd assume we're seeing guys still go early, and we're seeing guys still get drafted, off of the Tommy John.
Everyone gets Tommy John.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage. No, not at all. Not at all. But Connor Jerpy of Oregon State, I'm a fan of Connor Jerpy. So he throws from this weird like low 3/4, almost high like sidearm, left-handed release point, similar to Chris Sale, fastball in the low 90s, disgusting slider. If you're lefty, you don't have a chance. And then he's developing feel for the changeup. And so this changeup fades away from righties. The slider's disgusting. He's over at Oregon State. He's really good. I think people are going to see him more on a larger stage as we get further into the college baseball postseason. Connor Jerpy could be a guy that flies up the boards very soon for this coming draft.
Jerpy's another reason why I loved Oregon State. My player is a high school pitcher. His name is Brock Porter. He's in the Michigan area. He's like a 6'4", 200-pound righty. Throws like 95 to 97 miles an hour. I first got word of him through our mock draft that Ryan Miller wrote on justbaseball.com. That mock draft 2.0 is coming soon. Yeah. But he was really high on Brock Porter, and then I did some digging. I just love his stuff. Like I said, mid to high 90s fastball with some run to it. He throws from this over the top, really herky-jerky angle. Honestly, the mechanics make me think that there could be some injury concerns within his future. But if we're talking about straight stuff, projectability, this guy is long, lanky, and he already has 2 really good off-speed pitches. Like, all of his stuff is so freaking electric. And if they can tone down the mechanics a little bit, because it is kind of like, but it's over the top and the action is crazy. I'm a big believer in this guy, Brock Porter out of Michigan, high school. I'm probably going to go in the first round.
So we've been trademarking Jack McMullen Analytics, which this is a Jack McMullen Analytics type thing. Brock Porter just sounds like a power arm, right? Like, yeah, like that's a Jack likes flip glasses as a reason to like somebody. Yeah. Brock Porter sounds like a guy who just throws fuzz and will blow it by you. Exactly. So the Jack Analytics trademark, he checks that box.
Mm-hmm. He has the dog in him. 100%.
The dog in him.
All right, let's move on to our last question of the podcast, which is kind of hilarious. And I had to do some digging. Are the Reds the worst team ever? Asked by @Lion-Forest on Twitter. Aram, the 1932 Red Sox started 7-35. The 1952 Pirates started 5-28. The 1988 Orioles started 0-21.
That's the craziest.
Their first 21 games to start the 1988 season. And the 2003 Tigers most recently started 3-25. And in 2004, they got the second pick of the draft and selected Justin Verlander.
Worth it.
So this is not the worst team ever, but if you could gain any positives from these Reds, and what did they start the season at? What are they right now? 3-19. I mean, we're recording on Tuesday. They might be,
They just got John Endia back though. Don't worry.
Is he back though? I saw he was on the 10-day DL this morning. Is he back?
Is he back? I don't know. I thought he was supposed to come back. I
think he's back.
That's a team that I have just not like. It's sad.
I know. I haven't been following,
but they're worth watching. Like, I'll tune in when Green's on the bump, when Lodola's on the bump. But right now it's rough. I did a dig into
who am I watching, Aram? I want to watch
those two guys. Those two guys.
They're interesting to watch, but
a team that certifiably stunk, even though they had some decent names on their team. The 2013 Astros went 51-111. This was their lineup: Jason Castro at catcher, Chris Carter, legend,
elite.
Jose Altuve, but he was 23 and he had a 678 OPS that year. Jonathan Villar at 22 years old, 640 OPS.
He was sitting fourth.
Yeah. Matt Dominguez, who was a
this can't be their lineup. This can't be how they lined because Chris Carter hit second and Jose Altuve hit third.
No,
this
wasn't
the players. Okay,
this is the
I
players.
was like, this is the craziest constructed lineup I've ever heard.
But you can mix and match all these guys. They're all under 700 OPS, except for the highest OPS of all these names I'm about to list for you is Jason Castro. So who was the catcher? JD Martinez at 25 years old had a 650 OPS. Brandon Barnes had a 635 OPS. LJ Hose, which is one of the coolest names. His jersey literally said Hose, Hoes. He was one of their better players, which is crazy. And Carlos Pena at 35 years old, who just couldn't hit a lick. This is one of the worst teams ever assembled. And I do think that the Reds can finish better than this. Their ace was a 25-year-old Dallas Keuchel with a 5.15 ERA, or Bud Norris with a 3.93 ERA. He was their best statistical pitcher.
Jeez, Bud Norris
was their best statistical pitcher.
He's one of the worst eye test pitchers of all time.
Bud Norris.
Just eye tests, like Dylan Bundy. I mean, Dylan Bundy isn't actually that bad, but just eye test guys. Guys, Yohan Adon right now is my number one eye test sucks, dude. Like, and Bud Norris fell into that.
He fails every test, I think.
Yeah, he fails every test.
He went to Cal Poly State University. Bud Norris did. Where's San Luis Obispo, Cali boy? Where's that?
What did you just try and pronounce?
San Luis Obispo.
San Luis Obispo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 hours north of me. That's Cal Poly Slow. You know Cal Poly Slow? That's literally where
San Luis Obispo. That's how
San Luis Obispo. Well, we call it Slow for short.
Slow.
Why am I forgetting? How could I forget? Brooks Lee. That's where Brooks Lee is right now. Cal Poly Slow.
Then so legends come out of there.
Legends. Spencer Howard, another legend.
Spencer Howard.
He's really good for Cal Poly Slow. But just to wrap it up, give you some bright points on the Reds. We just talked about Tyler Mahle. I am buying him in fantasy. We talked about that on Not Gambling Advice. Tyler Mahle has the worst ERA in baseball at 6.45. His expected ERA is 2.87. Brighter days are ahead for Tyler Mahle. We know, Aram, that Tyler Mahle cannot pitch at Great American Ballpark. Most of his starts this year have been at Great American Ballpark. Like, there's a lot of things to look up to. You know,
Luis Castillo comes back.
Luis Castillo's come back. Lodolo Green is great. I mean, you got all these prospects too.
They can't be that bad. They're good enough. Tyler Stevenson just came back. This team's not good. Don't get me wrong. They're probably one of the, if not the worst team in baseball, but they're not historically bad.
They're not historically bad.
None of those teams we mentioned had Luis Castillo. None of them had a Hunter Green, even a young one. None of them had a young Nick Lodolo. None of them had the defending rookie of the year and a good like this team isn't good, but they're not historically bad. So I guess the answer from us is no, they're not the worst team ever. Yay.
They are not the worst team ever. I thought it was crazy. The 1988 Orioles started 0-21. Imagine imagine after the lockout. Imagine after the lockout. Just think about it. Just close your eyes for a second while you're listening to the end of this podcast. Your favorite team is finally back. Stupid owners open the checkbook and you finally have baseball back. And your team loses the first 21 games of the season. I know the Reds have only won 3 or 4, but all of them.
Not one win.
Not one.
At that point, I think I'd root for the L every time. Like just for the meme. Just because it's funny.
and so that'll do it for Wednesday's episode of the Just Baseball Show. Get your Just Baseball merch. That's in our episode link description. Join our chalkboard. That's our big baseball group chat. We're talking baseball all day long. That's in there as well. And go download the Loop app. The app is in our episode description as well. You click on that link. Let us know that we sent you to them. Anything else before we go?
Great interview coming up on the call up tomorrow. If you're listening to this, it will be coming out tomorrow. We had Robert Hassel III, our 24th overall prospect in baseball. One of the best prospects in the Padres system, behind only CJ Abrams. Awesome interview. Really cool guy. Super talented. So check out that interview on the call up.
And with that, thank you, everybody.